Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Deep Root Solutions. Today, let's think about the Turuq and how the Sufi orders spread throughout Central Asia, South Asia, and beyond. Actually, this is in regard to healing the traumas within the Ummah today. Because right now, we are a very traumatized collective all across the Muslim world and beyond. Why are we traumatized? We are traumatized by many wars and conflicts that have been ongoing for decades, sometimes longer. You know, I'm thinking off the top about Afghanistan, 40 years of conflict. We're talking Iraq. Since the Iraq-Iran war, what does that make it, about 40 years as well? We're talking Syria. That's been ongoing now for quite some time. Now we've got Yemen involved, and the Saudis who are involved in the conflict. We've got Libya. We've got so many different areas. There are little brush fires popping up in the Sahel region. Sudan has been long devastated in a number of ways. Sometimes it's from outside actors. Sometimes it's from insiders in these various conflicts. So there are traditional hot war conflicts and the traumas caused by warfare, whether it's civil war, whether it is conflict between nations over territory, over resources, over various disputes that might be from known behind the scenes but not as known on the outer level. Increasingly, we're moving toward water wars, water conflict has been the prediction, the programming in advance. But we're also devastated within our communities by people having been uprooted over the past generations from living on the land. Some people living in a nomadic or semi-nomadic lifestyle and then moving into urban environments. Some people having been long-term farmers or herders, and now they're living in suburban, urban environments, metropolitan areas, megapolises, and all the issues that go with that, such as disintegration of the nuclear family, an epidemic of divorce. Oftentimes, divorce is very violent psychologically, sometimes physically. It's very complex. We are seeing the traditional social networks within the Muslim world and around the world break down. The traditional connections that we have with the masajid, the traditional connections that we have within community, extended families are breaking down. Why is this? Because the whole world is the West now. People often point to the West and think of the former Western European colonial centers. They think about the United States and these type of places. And yes, these are the West, but arguably the West is worldwide now. And all of its problems are worldwide. It's just in places like the United States, we were on the cutting edge. We were going through a lot of the intense divorces earlier, the breakdown, the social decay. But this is spread in a viral way worldwide. So we're seeing all these various elements of decay and disease. And then there's the fitna caused on biological level by total conflict, a full spectrum war that is taking place that's affecting us on atomic, subatomic levels, energetic levels, that's affecting us on genetic levels, psychological levels. There is the infusion of nano within the environment, and various genetic modifications within the plants, and then its impact upon the soil and the water and the air. All these modifications are taking a toll on the various ecosystems and have a destabilizing effect. There are all kinds of neurotoxins within the water, within the air, within the food supply. Much of what is called halal in industrial meat industry. These are animals who have been mass jabbed with various substances because they are living in unnatural conditions. Then they have big pharma has a big hold within the animal husbandry industry. And just the fact that we're speaking about animals as industry is a problem. And so then people eat the flesh and then have various long-term destabilizations things that we've been taking into our bloodstreams over decades are having problems arise after multiple generations. So this is total conflict. Now let's go back to the Turuq issue. Why did I make these connections? Well, the Turuq, these are often, traditionally they were retreat type of, they were organizations of men and women that would come together for contemplation, for prayer, for fasting. And oftentimes they had been warriors who had been traumatized. They had PTSD, they dealt with various conflicts, and they needed to go back into nature and reconnect to nature, be regrounded. This goes back to a very ancient tradition in South Asia and Central Asia in particular, but also extending into what some scholars have called Greater India, which extends up into Central Asia to the edges and kind of blends with the Eastern Persian realms. That was formerly very deeply involved in Buddha Dhamma and previously Vedic traditions. And anyway, there were basically these warrior societies where people had been involved in long conflict, and then they became monks, and in order to de-stress, to reset themselves, to realign their bodies and their minds, reharmonize, regenerate, some of them would go away and spend their life away because they went back into the family situation after war, and they did not want to harm their family. They did not want to harm their society, and they were suffering, and so they wanted to work through their suffering. So they went into monastic settings, into hermit type of Cenobitic lifestyles, hermit lifestyles. And there were forest traditions throughout South Asia, in Pakistan, up in the foothills of the Himalayas, in the vast forest lands around the massive ancient rivers. And these were places where people could work through their issues and work through their suffering. And what I'm suggesting is that this model holds a lot of potential for us now and in the future. With everything we're dealing with now with devil tech, with this extinction level event, we have to think, what is on the other side of this? How do we preserve our organic biological integrity and dignity? And how do we come out of this on the other side after dealing with the situation with justice and expand in a merciful manner throughout the lands? First, we have to work on situations within and realign our bodies and our minds and purify ourselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, energetically, and ecologically. We have to take our responsibility as caliphs of the earth, as inheritors, and be the protectors, the guardians, and the guides of all of creation, beginning with ourselves, beginning with our own communities. So this is very, very important. And retreat situations where people retreat to the wilderness for a time to reassess, to let go of all that which has been plaguing them. This is something founded on a much older human model that takes us all the way back to garden times. To after our exile, we would make retreat for periods of time. Sometimes it might just be as short as a 40-day retreat, walking in the wilderness, making sajda on bare soil and barefooted. Sometimes it would be within community, like Isa alayhi salam's disciples. May Allah be pleased with them as they wandered the lands, teaching about Tawheed and teaching about the good news of forgiveness and compassion and mercy. So let us consider that some of these older models to work through PTSD might be necessary for our men and women moving forward. And we can organize retreat centers in the wilderness where people can go and work through these issues and let go. Because remember, the word forgiveness and pardon within English is related to a letting go process. To be able to let things go, to let go unhealthy attachments, let go the burdens, the baggage, the extra baggage that's weighing us down, that's burdening our hearts. So let us seek purification through holistic Toba, Tazkiyah, through Tawakkul. And I would encourage us to go have retreat situations and personally take retreats. And I don't just mean itikaf, I don't just mean 10-day retreats in the masjid. Nowadays, there are a number of issues with this. This holds benefit, but it is not the way for us to heal our families and heal our communities as a whole. It might have a component, but it is not the whole solution by any means. We have to think more holistically and take a holistic approach to this. So many people are disregarding the Sufis and the Turuq models. And I do see problems within the Turuq. Yes, we need to acknowledge the problems, but there are structures and there are tools that are available to us that our spiritual ancestors have practiced in the past. And let us not just throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let us not just throw out the toolkits that still hold value for us. Because why did these Turuq arise? Start thinking about how they were, in part, assembled and organized to deal with PTSD for a warrior society. This is very important. All right, so and there are connections to other communities as well. And South Asia and Central Asia are very important in these equations. So as well as the former Christian lands where a Christian monastic model was in place, connected to warrior societies in ancient times. So anyway, let's consider these and come out of our misery, inshallah. Till next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.